Hey, this is Steve in Dallas, Texas. It's Wednesday morning, my friend, and you are listening to Light Talk.
And this is Ellen working hard on the tropical island of St. Bart's, and you are listening to Light Talk.
Hey, this is Zach in Washington, D.C. It's Wednesday morning, my friend, and you are listening to Light Talk.
On my 1-year anniversary of being a full-time Lumen brother and coming to you from Long Island, Port Washington, this is Dennis. You're still tuned in to Light Talk.
Happy anniversary, Dennis. You lasted a year. I can't believe it.
Where's the cake? Where's the cake?
Time flies. I thought it was like 3 months ago.
It seems like that.
Oh, man, we got to do something. All right, well, and this is David coming to you from the beautiful Belmont Shore neighborhood of Long Beach, California. And if you don't already know, you are listening to Light Talk, and we are the Lumen Brothers
and Sister.
That's right, Ellen. Welcome, everyone, to episode 478, almost midway into our 10th season. And today, boy, we promised you, and we're delivering one of the great lighting designers and current Tony nominee, Jen Schriever's here. Jen, welcome to Light Talk.
Hi.
Hi, Jen. How you doing?
I'm good. Thanks for having me. It's so nice to be here.
Oh, my God. It's so great to have you here. And we're going to learn a lot about Jen today. But first, before we get started, Ellen's going to tell all of you a little bit about Jen.
Jen Schriever is a New York City-based lighting designer known for her work on live entertainment projects for Broadway shows, as well as theater and opera projects worldwide. Most recently, she received the Drama Desk Award and Outer Critics Circle Award for Outstanding Lighting Design for The Lost Boys at the Palace Theater, a 12-time Tony Award-nominated production that earned her a Tony nomination for Best Lighting Design, shared with co-lighting designer Michael Arden. She received 2 Tony nominations for her lighting design of A Strange Loop at the Lyceum Theater and Death of a Salesman at the Hudson Theater. She is also an Obie Award winner for Sustained Excellence in Lighting Design and received an Obie Award special citation as part of the creative team and ensemble of A Strange Loop. No stranger to regional theater, she earned a Helen Hayes Award for Private Jones at Signature Theater in D.C., and her opera credits include 1,000 Splendid Suns at Seattle Opera, Iphigenia Tour, The Pearl Fishers and Die Fledermaus at the Metropolitan Opera, as well as La Traviata, Faust, and A Midsummer Night's Dream in Russia, and another production of The Pearl Fishers for the English National Opera in London. So congratulations on your wins and nominations for Lost Boys, and welcome to Light Talk.
Thanks, Ellen.
Well, Jen, I must ask a question. I must interrupt right now.
Bring it.
Because you've worked at the Mariinsky. Okay, I've worked at the Mariinsky too. Is it the old Mariinsky, the original Mariinsky you worked at?
I've done 3 in each building. I've worked in the concert hall, the old and the new.
Now, the old, okay, which is what I'm used to. Isn't that like the most dangerous theater you've ever sat in your life?
I'm obsessed with that building. I wish I had fully documented it with like my phone going, like it's really beautiful and impressive and
it is.
Bananas.
Bananas.
Yes.
Exactly. Totally bananas. They don't believe in fire laws there. I guess not. Or fire exits.
No.
That's a whole nother story.
Yes.
Yeah.
I remember like they had all the moving lights were pointed up. Anytime I'd ask for a fixture, they'd have to wheel them down. And I'm like, can we just turn it on and see which one is above the bed? Like
most of them are rusted in place.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
Okay.
I'd like to get this started. We're obviously going to talk about Lost Boys, but I just have to say I saw the show last week, took my daughter for her birthday, and it was one of the better theater experiences of my life.
I'm
I'll tell you.
happy.
It was just spectacular. Lighting textured the way I haven't seen it in years and years. I thought to myself, somehow or other, Jen has managed to channel Adolf Appia. The use of texture was just phenomenal. And there have been an enormous amount of reviews that are spectacular and accolades. I could go on and on with reviews, but I'd like to kick this off with one review that I'm going to read verbatim. So get ready. Full disclosure, I've seen Lost Boys twice. I will go back again and again. To me, it's the perfect example of how a lighting designer can support a story and choreograph movement. I was crying watching this design unfold. Anyway,
I
that
hadn't
review,
read
which
that
is,
one. That's amazing.
of course you didn't read
You
it.
brought tears to the eyes of a
I
reviewer.
love it.
This is a personal review I was asked to read to you
Incredible.
by your former teacher, David Grill,
Oh,
who's also your colleague and co-chair of the design program at Purchase.
yes.
And when I talked to David, he was so thrilled that you were going to be on the show. He said, "You have to read my review."
I love him so much. That's so nice.
He was obviously over the moon about the show. I actually asked him, I said, if you were doing this interview, was there a question that you'd like to ask Jen? And he said, yeah, actually. I said, in apropos of Lost Boys, you can tell us a little bit about Lost Boys with this question that David had. Jen is equally brilliant at plays, musicals, dance, opera. I'd like to ask her about how her diverse portfolio has informed her process and design aesthetic for Lost Boys.
Oh, it's a good question. I think the Lost Boys is sort of operatic, and I was new to opera. Like when I started doing opera, I didn't grow up doing opera. I didn't go to the opera. I felt like a fake. Like I had to, all the designers, the director would reference, known opera things, and I had to be like, oh yes, of course, sort of like that, and then like research what that was. But what I love about it is scale and, the sort of, you don't have to actually really see anybody, is not required. You can just enjoy the music. So I think with the Lost Boys that we could exist in the dark, and the scale of the set is really operatic and massive. So I think that it was fun to be able to translate that into like a musical theater situation. But I don't know, I try to always do the right thing by the piece, I guess, which I think we all try to do, whatever that is, and lean into the darkness. Yeah.
Jen, could you please tell us a little bit about The Lost Boys and how you approached it?
Sure. The Lost Boys, well, I mean, at first it's an 80s movie, like cult classic, 80s movie, Kiefer Sutherland, the Coreys. It's about, some might say it's a vampire movie, or a vampire musical, which it is, but it's also like a family movie, like almost every 80s movie where, it could be Karate Kid, it could be Lost Boys, single mother leaving town with her sons, looking for a new place to land. And The Lost Boys is now a musical on Broadway. Our producers, who are new to producing theater and are amazing, decided to do it straight onto Broadway, which is crazy. And we all just made this new musical happen together in the theater.
I heard a rumor that I'm not sure if it's true or not. Is this truly the second most expensive musical ever mounted on Broadway?
No, I don't know why this rumor is going around. It was.
I mean, I don't know what the first even was, but
I think,
It's the second most expensive vampire musical.
A vampire musical.
could be. I mean,
I
our
think
finances are
Dance of
disclosed.
the Vampires might top it.
one of the main characters in this show that Jen did not mention is Foy.
Oh,
as
yes.
in flying by.
Yes, there's lots of flying.
Unbelievable flying.
Yeah.
And the only thing better than the flying is the use of light to highlight and show us the vampires who are flying all over the place.
Yeah. I
And
was
as somebody
really
who watched
stressed.
oh my God, I thought Spider-Man, the musical, tried to do too much with flying. You guys, over the top and brilliantly executed.
Thanks. Yeah, it was really like full clench. You know what I mean? Like I was really nervous about like doing service because it's sort of like a story where you want to get lost in the story. You don't want to be thinking about the mechanics. You want to enjoy what you're delivering. So it was really important to, of course, sometimes, it depends where you're sitting. I think sometimes if you can see a little this or that, but in general, I think you can suspend your disbelief. And I think we did Foy justice, but we worked a lot. I mean, we were in at 8 a.m. every morning. We did every morning work call. The set is so big and crazy. They were doing, we would queue in the most direst. I'm sure you've all been there. Like, just like, they're like sawzalling things and work light, and I'm still trying to, queue with a sandbag, in the worst situation. But we chipped away. It was really stressful, but I think we figured it out.
Tell us a little bit about the set, because even though I praise the vampires flying around, it's nothing compared to the fact that this huge monstrous set by Dane Laffery actually flies in from like 40 feet up.
Yeah, and takes all the real estate. The thing about the set is there's no, it's like, it was a real leap of faith. And like I said, we didn't do an out of town. And that's why we're not like the second most expensive show, but we did, I think the choice to do it straight on Broadway was to use all the money there instead of do like, $5 million somewhere else. Like, let's just put all that money into the Broadway show, which proved really great. In this case, I don't know if I'd do it again or recommend it, but like, there's a huge scenic piece that is basically a ceiling that comes down. The set is like a, on an angle. So it's not squared off. There's no wing that isn't in view, basically, because there's the two walls that come to a corner basically nearish center. So it's sort of like a big triangle, the set. And it's 3 stories tall. It's like 60 feet tall. And things, flyers, scenery come from all angles, from 4 lifts in the ground, from above and through these openings. So figuring out where lights could go at all was like a challenge. Though I think it provided like the best palette because it was so unique, like where everything, the angles are, bespoke to the set, which is really nice, and no systems whatsoever, really. I mean, as I would teach them.
You must have had enormous collaboration with the set designer.
Oh yeah. I mean, it was like in massive, my associate and my associate, Aaron Tacey, who is, like so amazing and really smart, and thankfully, an incredible draftsperson. I detest drafting. Was, together we were able with Dane and his associate Matt, like nonstop real estate negotiation, cutting little gaps in the set everywhere to let light in. Like lots of coordination with the scene shops. I think 3 shops or two or 3 shops built the show. Lots of props that involve lighting. So like nonstop, a year really of like nonstop collaboration and communication. But it paid off, thankfully.
In the interview with Hannah Kinnersley on Live Design Online, you mentioned about no side light, the lack of possible side light in this piece. Is that because of the set, because of the flying performers, because of...
No, there's side light, but not exactly, like there's no wings, like there's no place for light to fall. There's walls all the way to the proscenium, basically. There's a small gap, like an in-one gap where there's some tracks, but like there's no place for light to go. Like I overheard, I think I'm sure I think I can tell this story. Like one of the carpenters was like, why isn't the lighting rig just like it is on Harry Potter? Like, and I'm like, there are no wings. Like there's no, like, I guess, like there's nowhere for the light to fall. Like I wish it was like Harry Potter.
I'm telling you, you had to deal with an impossible set. I know exactly what you're talking about. Everybody thinks light travels 20 feet and stops.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Or there's Luma-Suck that you paint everything
that.
with Luma.
Yeah.
Yeah, right. What is it called? Vanta Black, right?
Yes.
They call it Luma-Suck.
Yes.
Vanta Black. But no, it's like you can't bury the light anywhere. That's crazy.
Totally.
It's totally nuts. This is where you need drone focus deluxe, by the way. You have drones with lights on them, and then they could just like go
Maybe
fly
that is
everywhere,
the future.
which would be kinda-
Yeah. But they have to be quiet drones.
Yeah, that's the problem.
Yeah.
Or the music just has to be really loud.
Yeah, or just really
There you
loud.
go. That's
Yeah,
what
good
I'm
point.
The co-design credit with the director. How did that work out?
Well, that was Michael's pitch to me with the ask. He's a really good friend. We've worked together before, not in the co-design capacity. And he's an interesting creature in that he is like, really passionate about like he really loves lighting. It's so funny. Like I keep trying to talk about it like I don't have Stockholm syndrome. I feel like people are like, "Are you sure you liked this?" They don't want to believe that it was okay. Like that. I think people are like lighting friends are nervous that like I didn't want to co-design with the director, but it was so easy. It was a joy. He's so passionate about lighting, and he was like, I have a crazy ask. Would you co-lighting design the show with me? And I was like, I would absolutely love to. And, I included him on everything. We worked together in making the plot. Obviously, he's like, do I need to download Vectorworks? I'm like, I don't think so.
No, that'll be the last time he co-designs anything if he hasn't learned Vectorworks.
Exactly. I was like, Aaron's got it. Don't
There
sweat
goes
it.
his fee.
Yeah, we did a lot of like I'm showing on my Zoom screen, but we've got this plotter. We did a lot of plotting and like, looking at things on paper. But like he was with me every morning. We worked together. Obviously, he was also directing the show, but like we it was so fun. Like I was nervous in the beginning, like how's this going to go? What if we disagree? Like what if what if he has an idea and I don't like it? But like it was really nice and like not lonely. Not that I think lighting design is lonely because we have such a big team, but like it was in the duress of making something this big in like the small time we had, like, and the pressure to get it right. It was really nice to have like a teammate, like just to like stare bigger than the director, like someone who was really invested in the lighting itself in a different way. We would put like our foreheads together and just be like, okay, like we're on this, like we know what to do. So, it ended up being really fun.
I have a question about all this.
Yeah.
Because we talked about this on the show a couple weeks
Yeah.
ago when we announced the Tony Awards and the whole idea, the whole controversy about not having a separate category for projection video design. And my point was, why have any? Because I don't know about you, Jen. I'm sure this is Kay. I'm probably speaking for you here. But you really do co-design with the director.
Yeah, true.
As a lighting designer.
Yeah.
All my directors,
Totally.
I consider them co-designers.
Totally.
So the bottom line is the director's making the decisions.
Totally.
And ideas come from the director.
Totally.
So I don't think it's really a big deal.
Yeah.
When you said that, a lot
Yeah.
of your colleagues have said, oh, why set this precedent?
Yeah.
I think that people are denying reality.
Yeah, I mean, I
that's the way it
feel
is.
not to be like holier than thou. Like I feel egoless about it. Like I was so happy to have him on the team, and we had a lot of fun. And he learned a lot. He learned a lot. And I'm curious. We're doing a show next year together. As typical director designer collaborator.
Nice.
And I'm curious, like, what his awakening, what he's learned and how he might relate to lighting now on the other side of this experience where I included him in every detail, and he taught me things too. I mean, it's funny. I remember talking to Natasha after MJ, and the MJ, like, I don't know if you guys saw MJ, but like the transitions are astonishing. Like the transitions into a music video back into the rehearsal room, like they're amazing. And she was like, that was me and the director. We just were working all the time. And I feel the same way. Like that was me and the director, and he was a great teammate in, helping the lighting. Also, sometimes he'd just be like, I'm the director. I can have the actor stand right below the light if we want it to be a top light.
There you go.
And I'd be like,
That makes it easier.
I was actually going to go down that road and ask you. I mean, I'm sure Michael might be listening to this, but I don't know about you, and maybe you don't want to admit it, but many times on shows when I've gotten flack from a scenic designer or some engineer or producer, I say, wait a minute, you don't understand. Michael wants this.
Yeah, totally.
And we have to do what Michael wants because he's the director. Even if he didn't want it, I just make such shit up all the time. But I mean, Michael was not only your director, he was also one of the producers, right? His company co-produced this?
Yes.
who do you want on your side more than a producer and a director?
It's so true. It's a really good look.
I was
move.
jealous when I saw that.
I forgot he was a co-producer, but yes. Yeah, I mean, I joked about it a lot. Not that I'd be like, we need queuing time in the morning. I mean, Michael needs it. Sorry. Like, talk to my co-designer.
Take it up with
Yeah.
him.
We need a little extra LED tape. It's the co-designer. He's really needy.
He loves LED.
Where would you put any extra LED tape on that set?
It's true. It's true.
David, you got to fly to New York just to see this show. I'm telling you.
I have to.
The Palace Theater is on the corner of 49th and 47th and Broadway. I think the set actually goes out onto 47th Street, and I think Jen hung lights on 48th Street because it is every inch of that Palace Theater stage has got something in it.
It's really funny. I did Glenn Ross in there, which was, strange because it's such a massive musical house, and they decided to do a play in there. And I knew I was doing the Lost Boys when I teched Glenn, and we knew we had that theater. So and we made this play. And I remember the tech tables when I was doing Glenn Ross, like there was my table and the director and the set designer and the sound designer. And I felt like we were little islands. Like the theater felt so big, and like we're making this little play, and the theater's massive. And then I remember standing in the theater on like the third day of tech for the Lost Boys. Every square inch is a tech table and props. And like, I was like this, and the set and our lights, and like, just, it was full to the brim. And I'm like, the theater feels small to me now. It was.
Speaking of tech tables, doing the amount of opera that you've done in these companies, a lot of the companies I've worked at, some of these companies, they have tech tables for the general director,
right?
For the press agents, it's like, I remember when I first walked into the San Francisco Opera, and I saw about 30 tech tables. And I said, and there are little plaques on each one. Okay, there's a lighting table, sound table, blah, blah, blah. It's like, how many people need damn tables?
I mean, I remember, I've only done 2 operas at the Met. I feel super lucky. I would love to do another one. But I remember the first one, I was like, whose table is that? Like right behind. And they're like, that's Peter Gelb. He likes to sit right behind the lighting designer. I'm like, cool.
Were there any moments in the show, Jen, that you particularly thought were your favorites, or something that was a challenge that you surmounted, or just, something simple that you thought, wow, this really, I did it. This really makes it for me.
Yeah. It's funny. My favorite has the least amount of lights on, which is the opening of the show. Like, I won't spoil too much, but
we can't say there's too many surprises.
Yeah, we discover so part of my desire in lighting the show was to withhold lighting the whole set for as long as possible, because the shell are these 2 walls that are always there, these very dimensional, really tall, beautiful, sort of like an industrial space walls. But they're always there. Those don't ever leave. So for me, it was important to hold off on revealing the full space for as long as possible. And the top of the show, we sort of discover our world, and it's really lit with a flashlight and just a few lights. And then we get into the rock and start. And I could watch it every day. I love it so much. It's so simple and a great way to begin. So that's one of my favorites. I love the Midway. We go to the Midway, and it's sort of like this freaky Santa Carla boardwalk, multicolor. I'm really bad with color as a designer. It's funny. I remember going to USITT and listening to a talk with Richard Pilbrow about choosing color. And he was so sweet. And he was like, I'm so bad at color. I just pull the pin out of my gel book and toss it up in whatever swatches lay in front of me, I consider. And I've always remembered that, because I feel also color, angle, I'm I can do that. Intensity, I'm good with. Movement, I can do. Color is hard. But I felt really good about how varied this world could be in some places, like the freaky California boardwalk. It was like a
It's
good,
interesting
yeah.
that you talk about that. I think one of my favorite scenes in the show was the boardwalk also. I guess it was the midway
Yeah.
where two of the principals go back, the older characters, and it's down and out, and the boardwalk is turned to shit, and it's seedy, and half the lights on your set are out, and they're burned out. It's you know the scene I'm talking about?
Yes.
And you did one of the most beautiful transitional cues I've seen in quite a while, where as they talk about what it is now and remember what it was 20 years earlier, you bring the boardwalk back to us. You bring it back to life. You do one of the slowest cues I've ever seen, where the boardwalk becomes what it once was. And it was truly beautiful in telling the story on the set. Nicely done.
Thanks so much. I love a slow cue.
Oh, wow. I'll say that was, I think one of the other slowest cues I ever saw was at the ending of another show you did, Lifespan of a Fact, at the end of that show.
Oh, yeah. Yes.
Nicely done.
Thanks. I can be the queen of slow cues, but I do fast ones too. And there's lots of bumps.
I'm going to turn this around to a totally different avenue, since I mentioned Lifespan of a Fact. My daughter took me to see that back in, I guess it was pre-pandemic, sometime maybe 6-7 years ago. She brought out to my attention, she said, "Dad, did you see the credit list on this? It's all women."
Yes.
I said, "What are you talking about?" And I looked, and I think the scene designer, the lighting designer, the costume designer, the projection designer, the director were all women.
It was the first time ever on Broadway.
Was it?
Wow.
Isn't that crazy? It was like
That's awesome.
2017. I was like, this feels so late for this to be the first time for that to be true. But apparently it
How
was
did that
true.
come about? Was it coincidental or?
I think Lee Silverman was the director, and I think that I think a lot of her collaborators are naturally women. She works with men all the time too, but like I think that it just happened and then it became a thing. Then she was like, well, now we have to like celebrate this as a thing. But yeah, it was Mimi Leanne did the set and Lucy McKinnon did the video. Palmer Heffron did the sound. Kate Freer was
Linda
it?
Cho did
Linda
the
Cho did the
costumes.
costumes. Yeah, and me. So and Lee did the directing. It was wild. Yeah, apparently that was the very first time, which is crazy to me. Crazy. Yeah.
It was a good show too.
Yeah,
Why
it was
do
sweet.
you think?
Yeah.
We've talked about this many times on the show with I don't know if issues is the right word, but why there aren't more women involved and brought in. Have obviously you're a woman. You've been working very successfully for 2 decades now. How hard has it been for you?
I mean, so complicated because like I think as a woman in my particular journey, like I don't know. I was just stubborn. So I'm like, whatever. Like also I used to not I used to say like I'm not a feminist, not in a bad way, just like I'm just a designer. I actually used to hate like woman lighting designer Jen or like female lighting designer. I'm like, I'm just a lighting designer, like it used to bug me, but I didn't quite I think I just had blinders on in my younger days. Like I wanted to be like one of the boys, which is tell enough that it was obviously a limited group of folks that I saw it that way. But there wasn't a ton of, there's Jane doing theater in New York. There's like Jane Cox, Natasha Katz, obviously Jennifer Tipton. So like there was me and then these women above me. And like, I felt like I didn't know any peers. And now there's like a rock star group, like Isabel's right behind me, not behind me. I mean, just in age, I'm old. She's a little bit younger. Isabella Bird, Masha Simring, like there is so many, Stacey DeRosier, like there's a pile of women like happening in New York right now, which is really, really awesome. I think I don't know why. I don't know why. Lighting started as like a woman's sport. I don't know why it like left.
I love the way you say that, a woman's sport.
Yeah, I don't know.
Well, it's weird because
Yeah.
in broadcast lighting, it's more male oriented,
Yeah.
isn't it?
I think
theater
so.
lighting? 'Cause
Yeah.
in theater lighting, there are a lot
Yeah.
of women
Yeah.
in theater lighting. You know, Zach, you know Jen. You've worked with Jen professionally. You want to talk about that?
I
Yeah,
have. It's
tell us
true.
about it, Zach.
Yeah, tell us about that.
It is the best. It is the best. I mean, one of the funniest things is, of course, that on a show Jen and I did many years ago, my older son, who's now about to go to college, was about 5 or 6, and I think Jen was his first crush.
Whoa, I love it.
I love that so
I
much.
thought he was really just interested in lighting. He kept saying, "Is Jen going to be there? Are we going to tech today? Can I come to tech today?" It was great. But the thing that I was so excited about to talk with Jen about, and Jen, maybe you can talk about this sort of your path, because I know, one of the things that we've talked about on the show, that my experience in New York is, in particular, is that in the lighting world, there's Yale paperwork and Purchase paperwork. And it all comes from which school you went to, and NYU sort of has their own paperwork, but it seems like it's more connected to the Yale paperwork. And I know, as an educator yourself and someone who has very strong roots at Purchase, if you could tell us a little bit about, your journey and how you had mentors like Brian McDevitt and stuff like that, and how one of the things that I love about watching your career is seeing you pay it forward in that same way. So if you could tell us a little bit about your origin story in that way, maybe.
Yeah. I mean, I teach at Purchase now. I'm an adjunct. I teach lighting 2 now, which I've just started, which is they're undergrads. So, and it's a state school and it's a conservatory program, if you don't know. So it's like really focused and young, and it's what I did. I knew, what I was like, I'm going to be a lighting designer. And I grew up right outside the city. So I was seeing shows all the time. I've told this story on other places, but, I used to come into the city all the time. It was before cell phones. I had a pager, and my mom would be like paging me 911 and be like, I'd come home and she'd be like, I know you were out drinking. And I was like, no, I was at the Public seeing like Saturn Returns for the 3rd time. Like, I was just a theater nerd. I was going into the city and seeing shows. I lived in Jersey. But at that time, Brian McDevitt was doing a lot of off-Broadway work, and that's the work I was seeing. And I was really inspired and excited I just kept noticing his name was like the lighting designer I was seeing a lot off Broadway. Then I did a whole my own journey for a few years, and then I transferred into Purchase. And I went there to try to find Brian because he was teaching there, but he had just sort of left. He was just a little bit teaching when I got there, and Dave Grill was there. So it was really an amazing handoff between the two. And I caught Brian and basically made him hire me. And thankfully he liked me. So he hired me as an assistant. But, I was just a sassy, know-it-all, 21-year-old when I went to Purchase. I was a little bit of a non-traditional starter, who just had a little delusion that I could do it. And thankfully, I wasn't too bad. And, Brian and Dave were able to support my belief in myself. And now I see that in my students, they're just, what do you know when you're 19 years old? I thought I knew everything, and so do my students. And I love that about them, they're willing to just believe that I can, I'm going to go to a conservatory program and study lighting. Obviously I always encourage them to do other things too, and be a whole human being and be a real full artist and all, consume not just the theater. But I was that young, nerdy, desperate 19-year-old with a dream. And And thankfully it works out so far because this is now all I know how to do. So there's no version of like, I always, like if my career fell apart, I'd be like, I think I'm going to be like a tiki bartender in the Caribbean and, work at the Sundown Bar where like,
You transferred to Purchase because of Brian, but where were you before?
I did. Well, there was like a senior who was like the guy who was my friend, and he went to Emerson, which is amazing, but it was just, I couldn't afford it. Like my parents were like, "You're going to do what?" And I was like, "Oh, it's okay." I called like 1-800loans.com and they gave me a loan. So like I took on the cost of Emerson College with, some discounts, but like basically I was, like I said, a self-assured young person who was like, I can do it. And so then I was there and I was like, oh, I don't know if this is for me. For whatever reason, at that time, it wasn't for me. And then I moved with my boyfriend to Tucson, Arizona, and convinced the Arizona Theater Company to hire me at 19 years old. And I lived in the desert for 2 years. My mom was like, "You're doing what?" I'm like, I'm leaving school and I'm moving to Tucson. I had never been west of the Mississippi. I'd been on an airplane like twice before in my life. And I worked at the Arizona Theater Company for 2 years I spent Y2K there. It was 1999 to 2001. So those 2 years. And in that year, I applied to Purchase because I knew Brian was there. So then I went back to school and I was able to transfer in as a sophomore with my life experience and my few credits from Emerson. And I did some community college classes at Pima Community College to keep myself sharp. And then I did 3 years at Purchase. And now I teach there, I love it very much. I really love it. Yeah.
I don't know if you read The Hollywood Reporter or not, but yesterday, one of the main stories in The Hollywood Reporter was the 25 best drama schools in the world.
Okay.
Purchase is on that list.
Yes, I love it. It is a state school, obviously. It's a SUNY school. It is an arts conservatory. It has 4 conservatories: theater arts and film, dance, fine art, and music. And then it's just a liberal arts college for your local SUNY school. And it's this awesome mix of like really cool people. Like I'm very fond of it. I think it's very special. It's a very special place. Yeah.
I've worked with many Purchase grads. I've hired many Purchase grads. The school speaks for itself.
Yeah. Thanks. Yeah. And it's,
and the teachers.
Yeah.
Say if you're a basketball fan, it's also where the New York Knicks practice.
That's true.
Well, that's cool.
That was a big selling point for my kids. They were like, "Oh, Purchase is interesting. Oh, the Knicks practice there? Maybe."
So, Jen, LED. Your whole world is LED now? Is everything LED on these shows?
I mean, yes, usually. I mean, I love a light bulb. Like an audio or a Revolution are my favorite things. And obviously they're, unless you go to a regional theater where they're in inventory, that you're not going to get them. I miss scrollers. I love a light bulb.
Did I hear this correctly? You said you missed the Revolution?
I know.
And scrollers.
And scrollers?
I know.
Oh my God.
It's a light bulb with shutters. There's nothing, like I know it's weird. I love, all the electricians are like, no. There's nothing that will ever beat a light bulb, but I feel like in the world where I am pretty bad at, or I struggle with color choice. It is nice, to have not to choose and to have the full LED option and to have the silence. I'm really obsessed with being quiet and not getting in the way. I love, not having my stuff be loud and just to be like, a friend to the sound department. So I remember doing like a show and I had Mac 2K performances out front. And I remember like sitting in the orchestra just being like, oh my God, I'm so embarrassed. Like it was so loud.
You think that's bad? Try the VL2.
I was just going to say that, David.
There was a show I did in Chautauqua many, many years ago that used VL2Cs. And Jim Waits was my programmer for that show. And that was insanely noisy. And then there was a show I did at the Fenice in Italy where we also used the Mac 2000s, as you did, Jen. And I just couldn't believe how loud it was. I was thinking, if I was the conductor, there was no way I'd put up with this.
Someone told me a story on a Broadway show. This is when I was an associate, so it must have been 10 or 15 years ago, where it was too loud and the director brought the lighting designer in and they just started breakering off lights one, but like, let's turn on the whole rig and just start breakering it off until, okay, that's what we can handle. So you figure out which ones you need to cut because that's how many need to be off.
Well, Jen, I'm sure you can remember when we did, we were talking earlier about the placement of tech tables, and it's the bane of every projection designer's experience or their lives. When we did Cater to Fair and we had projectors that were not the loudest, but for some reason they decided to put the director's tech table right under the projector.
Oh, no.
Oh, yeah.
And you guys had the quietest lighting rig. It was so beautiful, and I ruined it.
Revolutions, baby.
No, revolutions, yeah. Okay.
So does Lost Boys look different than it would have in the Revolution era?
That's a good question. Great question,
Speed.
Alan. Yeah, speed, totally. I mean, honestly, with some of the tracking of the flying, honestly, even an Encore couldn't keep up. We had to, I didn't ever really deeply consider how the speed of the lights for Paramount. That we have XIPs, and they're pretty fast, thank God. But an Encore, I'm never considering too slow because I'm not usually doing that much with it, but it was honestly couldn't keep up with the foy sometimes. So yeah, I think it actually would be harder. We needed and also single source to be really bright sometimes. Like we're reaching from really far away a lot. Like a lot of the light is off stage coming on very far away or very high. Our trims are really high, like 40 feet, like really high trims. So I think it just wouldn't be bright enough, or it would be different, or we just need a lot of them.
It's amazing how the technology keeps up with that, the whole zeitgeist of where the designers are going and things, how fast they're moving now.
Totally.
Like you're trying to do a Cirque show with like Revolutions would be impossible.
Totally.
Right? So yeah, it's pretty cool.
Although it's interesting you say that they're not Revolutions, but when Luc Lafortune last year, the year before, relit Mystère in Las Vegas with 90% new LED fixtures. There were some lights that were kept, like legacy tungstens, because the color just couldn't be reproduced.
I'm sure.
And the feeling and the ambiance.
Yeah, I remember seeing like one of the, I'm not going to say what it was because I don't want to hurt anybody's feelings, but like one of the first LED plays where the whole rig was LED and it was like candlelight and lamplight. And I couldn't get into, like, it was beautifully shaped, but the color was so wacko. Like I couldn't go there. Like I couldn't go there on the show. Like I couldn't enjoy the show because it was so, the color was weird. And yeah, it's funny, I'm like, or like, let's make Lee 200 or let's make R08. Like it's all relative now. Like I used to match to the scroller because there was always something to compare it to, but now it's all just, an iteration of
I can't tell
something.
you how many times this is something I always bitch about on the show, but how many times I go to say a program, okay, I want a Lee 200 in this light. And they get, boom, they like do 200. It looks like something totally different. I said, that's not a Lee 200. Oh, yes, it is.
Oh, no, this is my pet peeve.
Light board here.
Yes.
My my board that costs $50,000. It says Lee 200. No, it's not.
I have I'm like, I like to consider myself like a pretty fun and patient gal, but I'm like, I can't, like, that's no, like,
no.
If, we can't go. We're not going to say that again. Just come on.
Eventually the gel nomenclature is just going to go away. Nobody's going to even know what that means.
I guess, yeah.
Well, there's got to be a reference somehow. You got to tell the light board, who's probably going to be AI, but that's a whole nother discussion, This is what I want it to look like a Lee 200.
Yeah.
And the good programmers know that we're right.
Right.
I mean, the AI version of that is you're just going to feed it a bunch of images. You're going to just feed it a bunch of images, and it's going to pull together a color palette from it. You're going to say, I want, Picasso blue.
I'm not ready for the AI conversation.
We're not there to talk about it. I'm
It's
sorry.
too scary. But I will say we have lots of you always end up with the blue we like. What are the names of the color palettes? Just call that warm. We have an R08 and we have an R09 and we have a no color and we have a tungsten. This is another one. Call it warm, warmer, warmish, warmy. Which one did we like best? I can't remember.
Romantic sunset.
Sure. Yeah.
I find when I'm doing shows, I do the same thing. I shy away from the numbers, but I'll say, okay, record that color as Tipton blue, or record that as skeleton pink, or
right.
Giving it a name as opposed to a number. And the younger programmers that I'll work with, they kind of get into that, even though they don't know where it's coming from.
Yes.
Gilbert had the best description of a color, and he called what did he call it? He called it the essence of love.
Ooh.
Well, there you go.
I'm conjuring an idea of what that might be. There should be a competition where you get the name, and did you get close to what the person intended by name alone?
Let's tell Roscoe that. That's a great idea, Jen.
Describing the color and giving it another name is a clever idea. I like that.
Yes.
Yeah, why not?
So what do you you don't want to go to AI, but what's next, do you think?
What's next?
Other than that.
Okay. I mean, I'm sure I'll have to be brave and have an AI conversation, but it freaks me out. I think the thing I could see it. Okay, I'll say. I think the thing I could see it being useful is if there was a 3D drawing. I'm curious about this angle. Show me. If you could do a quick rough plot, maybe. Sorry, associates. I really don't mean that. I don't know. I like people. I like working with people. I like human beings. I do think what is happening is gear is changing so fast. So figuring out, there's big new fixtures, new inventory, new things all the time. So if we're so lucky, for example, to have Lost Boys last a long time and tour or go to another city, documenting and being able to change fixture types or upgrade, I think whatever that ease is, easing the technology, being able to do shows their intention, keep their intention and, figure out how to maintain the idea when all the fixture types change, or there's the luster 12 and you're well, I cued this on a luster 2 and now there's 16 color options. I don't know. And also the thing with the Lost Boys is the set is everything is so integrated, and it is a big load for the scenic associate and the lighting associate and the production management and the technical directors of multiple shops and props to coordinate all together. I do think there's sort of a missing person that's maybe a robot, but maybe not. That is integrating everything as shows become more you know.
It also sounds like with the Lost Boys that if there's a tour, the set might be massively reduced. So you'd have to relight anyway.
I think that the tour, it's funny, we've been having the tour conversation because they announced it. We were oh, cool. That's exciting.
What do we do now?
Yeah. I can't imagine that set's going on the road.
We'll see, right? I think the hope amongst the creative team, and we'll see if it's able to happen, is that it is a bigger tour like they used to be. Not necessarily, we can't tour the show as is, but that it can be,
Sit in a city for a couple of months.
Yeah, and just maybe have an advance and have enough trucks and enough support, to be a larger tour. But yes, the thing also is people have to fly. It's part of the story. So it's going to be interesting. That's gonna be. Yeah.
It sounds like ticket prices are going to be up there for this tour.
We'll see. The crazy thing about the Palace Theaters, it's so big that you can actually find, there's the mezzanine and the balcony, but you can find pretty great seats for a good price because it's so massive, this theater.
But you need a goat to get to the seats in the balcony.
It's
goat.
true.
Christ.
It's true.
Sherpers.
Yeah, there's like
Man
a donkey.
alive.
The donkeys bring the playbills. There's a Sherpas.
I got altitude sickness up there when I was younger and sat up there.
It is high.
Well, it's also now a few stories higher than it used to be.
True.
Going back to what you were saying about people, Jen has a reputation, and I work with a lot of stagehands in New York and TV studios, and I hear people talk about who their shows they're working on because the stagehands go from theater to studio and everything. Everybody loves Jen Schriever. Everybody loves her. There's nobody out there that says, yeah, that witch, she's just like blah, 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 blah. Everybody loves her.
Oh, it's really nice to hear.
That is so nice.
I'm serious. And even when I was talking with Mike Grabowski, who you went to school with, you're saying, yeah, and Ben Granucci, another classmate of yours who I work with a lot, they all seem to love you.
I mean, I love theater. We have to really kind of like each other. It's a collaborative, I don't know. I couldn't do it if I didn't like people. So it is nice to hear that people like me.
Well, even on this interview, on this podcast, you come across as totally charming and accessible. And, briefly before we end the show, you mentioned you love working with people. How many how many associates, how many people were on your team?
Oh, we roll deep. We roll really deep. We had it was me. Erin Tacey was my associate. Vicky Bain called spots and assisted us. We had a DMC, which is a United Scenic Artists. On the Broadway contract, you can have someone who's not in the union yet be a design member candidate and be paid by the producers on a USA contract, and their funds get squirreled away for when they do join. So we had a DMC, Elio. So that was the design team, but then we had, there's Mia Roy, the house electrician, Jeremy Wallers, the production electrician, Eric Plath, the head electrician on the console, 3 follow spot operators, and a special effects supervisor who worked with Marcus Moret, who did the special effects. But we all worked together, and there were 2 programmers. We had Ben Fichtorn and Scott Tusing, because there was so much fog. My gosh.
Oh my God, the fog was crazy. Just crazy.
If I had to deal with the fog alone, there would have been no lighting happening. I was so relieved that we could convince them to hire Scott, because we also used Lightstrike to follow automation. So it was too much for one programmer. So between Ben and Scott, and then Scott was unavailable briefly, so we had Harrison, and we had visits from ETC, so Victor Seastone was often there, and our shop rep was Brad Gray. So we have 5 programmers who are involved in the show one way or another. So I'm like, if we ever have a problem, we have 5 people in our family who are super knowledgeable. So the lighting department was, for me, massive in my book. For me, it
was a village.
Yeah, it was
You
a
needed
village.
it.
It was
You
a
needed
village, and everybody was so dedicated and still is. We're having little glitchy things. You do a show so fast, especially with effects. There's like a TV in the beginning. It's not spoiling, but there's like a TV, an actual prop TV that turns on in the beginning, and it's been misfiring, and we'll sort it out. But the dedication, the email thread of troubleshooting it is just makes my heart happy. Just people care and good smart brains.
Because I heard so many great things about you, I going back to the beginning of this show with your colleague Dave Grill, I asked Dave, I said, is she really for real? Come on, can this person be as perfect? This is like Mary Poppins. And I want to give you another quote that Dave gave me. Mr. Grill said, Jen was a great student, a great teacher. She's always thirsty for learning about everything. She's a great mentor to all the students and a true artist. Jen is an amazing mother to her future scientist, Henry, a true partner to her husband, Joe. Jen is 1 in a trillion. I love her. I'm blessed to have her as my close friend.
Oh,
Dave, that is really, really nice. It's so funny
But you know what?
when you said, is she for real? I was like, you could talk to my husband and it's not all roses. You know what I mean? I'm a human being.
But that's nice. We work in the theater,
It's
so
really
that's
nice.
good. I think, Jen, it's been just lovely to spend the last hour talking with you about your life and our lives and theater and light and craziness and all that. A lot of students listen to this show. It's amazing, the demographics that listen, the people who listen to the show, and they see Legends of Light. And I can call you a Legend of Light very easily because we know your career is going to continue and continue and continue and doing these amazing artistic pieces that you do. They look up to you. And I think that you sharing what you've shared today is really important. We'd love to have you back on the show. You are basically setting the standard now. And we love that. And we want to wish you the best of luck for the Tonys. Now, I don't know if you listened to our Tony show, but one thing we all agreed on is that being nominated by itself is the important part because it's about being recognized by your peers. And that is really what it's all about.
It's incredible.
All those names, all of your colleagues deserve that recognition. So we want to congratulate you on that.
And just so you know, Jen, so you know the kind of company you're in, all of the nominees for Best Lighting of a Musical, except for Kevin Adams, have been guests on this show.
Oh, I feel so lucky. When I go on a long car trip or a road trip, Light Talk is what I listen to. Like, I just put it on and I just listen. And I sort of scroll back and just start in a random place. So I really enjoyed, it's so nice to see your faces and sit with you. I've really enjoyed listening and also talking with you all.
Okay, let's get that to our publicist, David.
Publicist, who's that? I have a hard enough time dealing with our
I think
attorney.
he said our publicist, David. There was no comma.
Oh, I see. All right, we have to have you back on the
I'd
show,
love
and your next great project. We want to hear all about it. So, because we kind of ran out of time.
Yeah, that's okay.
We keep trying. We try. We've only done it once so far, but we keep trying to have the all-female version of Light Talk.
Oh.
And we want to do more. We talked about women in the business. We have one.
And Jen, if you're interested, if you want to co-host the show, we will set it up.
All right, amazing.
Bring some of your friends. Bring some of your assistants.
Amazing.
Wouldn't that be a cool thing?
Amazing.
Just put that in your head, I know you have a lot of free time trying to figure out how to put this show on the road, on a bus and
We
truck.
could do it
right? You'll
together,
a little
actually.
bus.
Well, we'll do it on the podcast.
There you go. Figure out how you're going to tour this damn show, right?
Live from the
With
tech
a load-in
table.
of 8 hours. You have 8 hours to load it in, okay?
Crowdsourced.
Then you open it up.
Crowdsourced, yeah.
There you go, crowdsourced.
That's
David,
funny.
I don't know if I told you, when I reached out to Jen to be on the show, I didn't really pay attention to what was going on in her life, but I contacted her, I emailed her the day Lost Boys opened. And she reached out to me the next day.
Well, when Light Talk calls, you don't want to ignore that. It's
Oh,
really
how
important.
funny.
Whoa! There's another soundbite for our publicist.
Somebody send her a mug. You're getting a mug, Jen. You get a Light Talk not ready for dishwasher mug, okay?
Right.
Send me
Right.
your address. I'm sending one out today.
That's so
okay?
funny.
Email me your address. Just don't put it in the dishwasher. We don't want to hear any complaints. Well, the rocking sounds of the Luminoids tell us that once again you've spent another Wednesday morning listening to Light Talk. You can hear our show on just about every podcast site out there. Check out our website at lighttalk.org and be sure to follow us on Facebook. And don't forget to subscribe to our podcast. That way you will not miss a second of Light Talk insanity.
No guarantee is offered regarding the accuracy of any statements or opinions made on this podcast, unless it came from Jen Schriever's mouth herself. However,
If you do decide to litigate, you will have to deal with me, Snoot from the Snoot Group. And don't get it twisted. Just because I married one of these losers does not mean I will go easy on you. So don't with me.
Light Talk, coming to you from the beautiful Belmont Shore neighborhood of Long Beach, California, the tropical paradise of St. Bart's, the Lone Star State, the nation's capital, and the entertainment capital of the world, New York City.
Be sure to join us next week when we dive into more lighting shenanigans and serve up a fresh, piping hot casserole of nonsense.
Light Talk, broadcasting questionable Lumen knowledge and humor around the world.
And don't forget to watch the Tony Awards broadcast this Sunday night, June 7th. Thanks a lot, Jen, and we'll see you all next Wednesday morning. Bye-bye from Light Talk.
Bye now.
Bye-bye.